They came up to me yesterday with some anti-Chinese propaganda. I mean, it's basically it's everything it's always been. It's people who are too scared to say chop off the heads of the Chinese leaders directly, but they're giving you like a pamphlet or a book that is like dancing around the circle. It's like, this is chop off the head of the Chinese leaders, and over here is sanctions, over here is free them, over here is give them democracy, over here is stop communism in Chinese. It's like dancing around the subject because they're fucking scared of these people, dude. And it's really ignorant. Like, why are they so scared of them, but yet they think they're going to become the Chinese? Like, they killed off the Americans, and now everyone standing on this paved land that was probably bought by like some other nation's plunders. Now everyone standing on this land thinks they're an American. So let me guess, like people really think that in like 5 years that everyone in America is gonna become the real Chinese. Like what, 1/10 of the American population is gonna invade and kill off the Chinese, and then they're gonna become the real Chinese. They're not gonna look anything like what Chinese ever look like, just like they don't look like what Americans look like, but they're gonna become the real Chinese in 5 years, right? Because that's what it's the same thing over and over, right? That's how this place exists. The fancy playground and all that. Fancy playground on American Indian soil. That's how that exists, right? You just go over there and you build a playground on China land, and you sit down on the bench here at the playground on Asian continent. You build here. Look, check this out. Now I'm the real Chinese because I sit down on this bench and build it. Yeah. I mean, you don't talk about it, right? That's the key to it. We're not supposed to talk about it. We're not supposed to mention how it happens. Just do it, and then you forget about it. And then you go into a neighborhood, you kill everyone in the neighborhood, and then you're like 2 months later, you're like, this was my neighborhood, and everyone's like, yeah, this is probably your neighborhood because you're here. And they're like, yeah. You're like, exactly. And then you just move on. And that's the way the world moves on, right? But, I kind of see the Chinese as like, their government must be excellent people. If the people here hate Asians so much, the Asians must be like the cream of the crop. They must be like God's chosen people or something, because it's like the only people that they are scared to invade and kill. And it's the only people stand up to them in everything they say. And, all I know is what people in this land tell me. They'd say, blacks are savage monkeys jumping around, tearing everything apart. And they say, the Arabs wear towels on their head and they worship false gods, and they blow each other up, and then everyone else is kind of dead, aren't they? So there's really no one else to speak of. I mean, even like dark-skinned people don't really exist, and their lands are very occupied. And supposedly they only own like 2 small plots of land, and supposedly that's all they've ever owned. So you just got to get rid of these other people that are in the way, and then you win the world through total conquest and domination, apparently. You win the game. You have won the game, except for enslaving yourself is not winning either. I mean, I guess it is. If your culture is like subservient slaves, and your culture is based upon enslaving everyone and then bowing down and accepting slavery as your master and just smiling about it and saying this is, whatever label you want to put on it as a government, I guess, that's winning. Like, who am I to say someone hasn't won? Like in Australia, the animals are winning against the savages they sent to invade Australia and take over Australia and kill off the natives there. Like right now, the animals are winning. So like, hey, maybe I'm two-faced because I'm cheering on the animals. I'm like, yeah, the rabbits are taking over everything. And then they kill the rabbits off, or no, yeah, they tried to kill the rabbits off. I don't think that worked. And then they go to try to kill the cats off because the cats are taking over everything. The kitty cats are taking over Australia and they're freaking out. I mean, these people are fucking cowards. But they're like, the cats are taking over. And so like they waged the war against cats. And I think one of their wars, they actually won against the Abos. And then like 100 years later, that was like 3 years ago, they won against the cats. And so because they killed the cats off, the rats are now winning and they have to wage war against the rat population because obviously the cats must have been, it just kind of makes sense. Maybe the cats were keeping the rats in check, but it looks like a losing battle over there. It's a lot of times it's like nature is designed to destroy all this stuff. You can see like the concrete has to be repaved often. You see that crack right there in the concrete? That's the earth. It's just shattering this. And this was probably built like a couple years ago. Look, they tried to build it like 2-3 inches high to obviously, I mean, they didn't build it a 1/4 inch high because they're trying to fight the planet. And the planet is just like, nope, we're going to split it right down the middle. And then the roads out here are all split. I mean, they purposely put the splits in the middle because they're trying to defeat the planet itself. They're trying to defeat nature, and the splits are so when nature starts to destroy stuff that it doesn't win. But I don't know, man. They're losing wars to emus and rats and yeah, they won the war against the cats, which that should piss me off. If I had some emotions left, I'd be like pretty pissed that a population waged war against cats. But it almost looks like it's going to be a failure. Like no matter what, like they're losing the war against the earth itself. They're scared to wage war against the final population. They've supposedly retreated from the Middle East. I mean, they got their little base there, though. And they say they've retreated from the Middle East every 7 months for like 30 years. Since I've been alive, they're like, oh, we're leaving the Middle East. And since before I was alive, they're like, oh, we're leaving the Middle East. And it's like, well, like, what century is that going to be? Like, like 95, 73 or something? And technically, if you look at the history books, you can just assume that that's never going to happen because they can never do that properly. They're scared to use nukes and just carpet bomb them, right? Because you need slaves to toil your land and till your land. So I assume that's why they keep slaves. Plus, you need people to have sex with, so you need to keep females when you conquer lands. Yeah, it's weird, and it's offensive when I get approached by people talking about the Asians, and it's like, dude, I'm in America, I haven't had too many Asians come up to me and cause me problems in 40 years. I've had caused me problems in 40 years. The people who live on this land have been causing me problems for 40 years. I don't know anything. The Chinese government has not come over here, and as much as they talk about the Chinese, it makes me think maybe those are good people who are trying to help me, and they're trying to keep me away from them because they're trying to help me. And I mean, that's all you can think, right? That's all you can logically think when someone constantly tells you someone's evil and needs killed and needs everything taken from them. And then you do the research and they're like, oh, you owe them $7 trillion. Oh, that's why you want them killed and stuff. Oh, it's the only land you haven't conquered and genocided yet. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's the real answer. Call me crazy, but I'm good at math. So when I do the deduction, the subtraction, the addition, the multiplication, the division, carry the 2 over, to the 4th power, And I'll, build a triangle and call it pi, and then divide the pie graph into what's really going on. Like seriously, I'm left with thinking that like every single thing about Asia is just a lie. I'm just like, oh, it's like Darth Vader. Asia is Darth Vader, and they're taking over the world, except for like in reality, the Jedi versus the Empire. Like the Empire is everyone else on the planet. And it would make it, so like right away, you're like, wait a minute, like, no, these people are armed and, armored up like the Empire in Star Wars. And whereas you don't hear anything positive about the Jedi in the Star Wars universe because the Empire controls everything and they control the propaganda. So you just naturally think like, oh no, like I've been duped. They're just telling me to hate these people. Because like Darth Vader comes in like, yes guys, we must kill the Asians. They're so evil. They eat cats and bats. No one likes to eat cats and bats, but over in Australia, you love cats, don't you? But over in Australia, we had to wage a war against cats because we're tired of them. We didn't even eat them, we just killed them. We didn't even eat God's natural resources. We just killed them off because we're tired of the cats. Seriously, like, I mean, like think of how much logic I just spit right there about what's actually going on. And there's so much more. The more I can think of it, the more I can talk of it. I mean, I didn't even really relate that until this video was made, that they want to wage war against cats and just slaughter them indiscriminately in part of the Empire's lands. But in the other land that they haven't conquered yet, they're evil because they eat cats. And it's like, really? They're evil because they eat cats, but you're good in protecting your homeland because you stole this land you stole that land 100 years ago, and you say there's too many cats. How can there be too many cats? It's like out here they say there's too many crows. They say there's too many pigeons. And it's like, yeah, I don't think there's too many crows. I love the crows. It's pretty cool that the crows are everywhere. They're like, oh, they're shitting on everywhere. It's like you killed them off. Like you killed off everything they have and own, and they're just hanging around. And then they put spike strips on the top of buildings. That way the birds won't rest upon the buildings. They put spike strips on top of the street lights so the birds won't. Basically, I mean, they would die if they like landed on one of those spike strips. The spikes are like as big as their body. It's not necessarily meant to deter them. I mean, they use the word deterrent. It's a deterrent, but it's literally like a execution. It's a death sentence if these birds would go out here and land on top of these spiked strips where they normally would land on a building. So they place the spike strips there. Like the spikes are bigger than the bird itself right there. It would go straight through the bird's body if it landed on that. But that's healthy and humane. That's good. It's good stuff. You gotta love society.